I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. That is lesson 19 from A Course in Miracles workbook. We are going through every single lesson. There are 365 lessons in the workbook from A Course in Miracles, but I will be reading from the notes of Ken Wapnick's book, Journey Through the Workbook of A Course in Miracles. This is a 7-volume series. As you can see, we're only in volume 1, where he has lectures and he gives copious notes on each of the lessons from the workbook of A Course in Miracles. So if you are a Course in Miracles student, welcome. I made these videos to help you through your journey, as if you know, you know. That's all I have to say. If you are a student of the workbook, if you're a student of the course in general, you know that these lessons can be very difficult to start with. That's why I'm going through each one of them one by one, and then adding some notes from Ken. Ken Wapnick is one of the greatest teachers on the course. He explains things in a way that you can understand, that makes sense, because if you know, again, when you first start off reading the course, you want to throw it out the window, and everything in you pushes it, like resists it, because as A Course says, it is a psychological mind training. It is teaching us the thought system of love, because we have been trained on the thought system of the ego, the thought system of fear, of sin, guilt, and fear, to be exact. And we are training ourselves to come with the thought system of God, of love, which is 180 degrees away from the thinking of this world and how we are raised. So, lesson 19, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. This is part 2, by the way. We did part 1. I did a video a couple days ago starting this lesson, and I got off on many tangents, so I had to break it up into 2 different videos. So we will pick up where we left off. We left off talking how Ken was saying that we are the characters, the actors, the directors, the producers of this movie we call life, and we make it very real, although it's just a projection. However, let's pump the brakes, because that's still too wild for a lot of us to understand or conceptualize. And Jesus is very kind and gentle in our waking up journey. He's not saying, wake up, you ding dongs, you're dreaming this whole illusion. Like, we can't wrap our minds around that, because this seems very real. The horrors of this world, and the joys as well, seem very real, and we are not ready to let that go, because it's the ego's world, the territory, this 3D physical world of duality universe, rather. Every single thing in this universe, everything in the universe is, as A Course in Miracles says, a dream, a projection of our minds. That's how powerful our minds are. Look at what our minds are doing. However, the goal of A Course is inner peace, of knowing, of waking up to the true reality with a capital R, of oneness, of love. And that is not what this world is. This is a world of duality, of separateness, of differences, not similarities. All right. So we left off. Okay, Ken says, once we see that cause and effect are never separated, we understand what we are seeing outside, to repeat, is simply an image that came from a thought. Everything we see outside in this physical 3D world, we take in with our 5 physical senses, is just a mirror of what is going on within. As within, so without. So once we see that cause, thought, first cause, thought, and effect, what is outside the physical universe, they're never separated. They are 2 different sides of the same coin. They're never separated. When we understand that, we understand that what we're seeing outside is simply an image from what came from a thought within. The key point to keep in mind is that there is a specific motivation, which we will get to in the next lesson. Like, why would we do that, right? Why is that the case? There's a motivation, but we're going to get to that in the next lesson. To learn that the ego's lessons are true, but we are not responsible for them. So again, he says the key point to keep in mind is that there is a specific motivation, which we will go over in the next lesson. That specific motivation. And we need to learn that the ego's lessons are true, but we are not responsible for them. At least that's the way we believe right now. The ego teaches that we have separated from God or from oneness, victimized and murdered him. Those are some strong, wild words, I know. And thus, when people say God is dead or whatever, it's like there is this belief that because we live, God died. This is very unconscious. So it says that we're responsible for this. The ego teaches that we have separated from God, that we victimized and murdered him, and thus acquired our individual existence. Because for us to be individual and separate must mean that God is dead. Subconsciously, okay? Because if we truly believed that we were one with God, we would not be separated, according to the Course. We believe this to be true, except we are not responsible for it, someone else is. Well, I didn't do that. I didn't ask to be born. I don't know, maybe other people, but not me. We're all one. We are all perpetuating and keeping this ego self alive unconsciously. And again, it's not to blame, shame, or condemn ourselves. It's just to realize, just be willing to look at this whole thing differently. Be willing to look at this whole thing we call life differently. Thus, we have all gone to great trouble with a very high budget indeed. It has cost us everything to make this grandiose movie of our lives. We invest tremendous energy in this movie in order to fulfill the ego's ultimate purpose, proving the separation is real, but we are not responsible for it. We forget we are actors with specific names and roles in the movie, as well as being script writers, directors, and producers. If we were to realize we made the whole thing up, that we, as directors, are in control of our movie by virtue of excluding another director, we would suddenly recognize that our greatest efforts were nothing because everything we had done was a defense against the truth. In a passage with which we will become increasingly familiar, we read, "What if you recognized this world is a hallucination? What if you really understood you made it up? What if you realized that those who seem to walk about in it to sin and die, attack and murder and destroy themselves are wholly unreal? Could you have faith in what you see if you accepted this? And would you even see it?" In other words, the defensive purpose of the world is sustained by keeping cause and effect separate, not remembering that our minds are the cause of the world. One other point about this lesson: the way I see does not affect me alone. The great illusion of the world is that I can have my private, hateful thoughts without affecting anyone. Yet, if the sonship is one, there must be an effect, because thoughts are unified and minds are joined. We learned in one of the previous lessons, I have no private thoughts. I don't remember what lesson that was. Did we already go over that one? Anyways, I don't know if that's a callback to a past lesson, but it's a lesson in here. We have no private thoughts because we're all connected. So says the Course. All right. So it says, the great illusion of the world is that I can have my private thoughts, hateful thoughts, without affecting anyone. Like, I can think as trashy as I want and as hateful as I want, and it's not going to affect anybody. Yes, it is. First of all, it's going to affect you, which you are the only one that's here. Trip, I know. But it's like pollution. You're polluting all of the other parts of you, the other people. It says, we think there's this great illusion of the world that we can have private thoughts, hateful thoughts without having no side effects. Yet if the sonship is one, if we truly believe that we're one, if the sonship is one, there must be an effect. Like what I do to you, I do to everyone. What I do to one, I do to everything. So there must be an effect because thoughts are unified and minds are joined. These effects are not usually observable, which is part of the reason for making the movie, yet they are there. That is why our guilt is so great. Deep down, we know the effect of our anger, for example. Whether or not we express it, whether it be physical, verbal, or in our conscious thoughts, anger's effect is continually telling God and Jesus they are wrong and we are right. The separation is alive and well, and we have the power to destroy heaven. Again, this is the source of our guilt and why Jesus is telling us to look at our expressions of anger and, even more importantly, at their underlying thoughts. If they do not change, nothing will change. That right there, isn't it lesson 5? My anger is never justified. I believe that's lesson 5. Anger is never justified. That was one of my favorite lessons. And by the way, if you missed any of the previous lessons, they're all on the playlist. Oh, I am never upset for the reason I think. I am never upset for the reason I think. We think we're upset because this is happening out here. But what the Course is saying is look within. Why are you really upset? Why are you really mad? We're never upset for the reason I think, and anger is never justified. Okay. So it says that we, again, this is the source of our guilt. We are holding on to this anger, even if we never express it. I was just laughing. We have a Course in Miracles group we meet with every week, and we were talking about, I don't know what I was saying, but I was like, yeah, I was judging. I was hardcore judging. Somebody said something on this Facebook group, and I wanted to write something back, but I just kept it within. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if, like, well, at least I didn't write it and post it, as if that makes a difference, because I'm thinking it already. It doesn't matter the form that it takes. Anger and judgment never is justified, ever. But we will continuously justify it because we're right. We're right, right? I'm right. And everybody else is wrong. Everybody else is a ding dong. This is the problem. Okay. So if we do not change, nothing will change. That's why we sit here feeling desperate and hopeless and powerless, seeing the state of the world and tragedies happening. When will they stop? When will this happen? And again, this is hard because it's like, I'm not the one attacking and killing and shooting, but a Course says those are just the effects. How many times do you think that way and pushed over the edge like these people? We are all capable of murder. All of us. We just haven't been in the situations. We can look and judge all we want at murderers, villains, people who break the law and do heinous things. We are all capable of that. And if you can't find the part in you, right, that if driven or put in their shoes, not that it's okay, not that we are defending in any way, but what A Course is saying is if we can even just be willing to get to the point where we say, yeah, me too. I have that darkness in me as well. I have that anger and that criticism in me as well. This is very hateful. I am very identified with the ego. I think I'm separate. I hate what's out here. I hate that. Like we are separate. We are not one. We are unwilling to be one. We don't want to be one. That's what A Course is saying. That ego does not want to be one. The ego does not want love and connected togetherness. The ego wants separated differences and judgments and hate. That's the world, that's the domain here. And until we change within, nothing will change. And so until we are ready to look at the darkest things out here that other people seemingly are doing and have complete love, and this is hard. And Jesus is very kind and soft, saying, I don't expect you to do this. I get it. But would you just be willing? It's like, the whole story of the crucifixion. To have that heinous of a thing and painful thing, right? There's been depicted in many different ways, colorfully, but to be so forgiving and loving to the last breath, like that's the ultimate Christ-like understanding of forgive them for they know not what they do. Like, are we willing to love? It doesn't mean, again, we have to have dinner and trust our brothers' egos, as A Course would say, but no, ultimately, it's not who they are. This is again, as the Course says, one big illusion, delusion, nightmare, just like when we're dreaming at night. And if we are willing to understand that it's coming from our mind, but the Course is saying that we always say, no, no, it's not. And we dig our heels in further. They're the evil ones. They're the bad ones, not me. And all it's saying is, are you willing to see that your thought, your belief in their evilness is the problem? That's why it's so important to study this every day, because words can't do it justice. And again, this isn't for everybody. So if you ain't picking up what is being put down, I don't blame you, carry on. But yeah, I've been a student of a course for a long time, and it doesn't matter how long you've been a student. It's new level, new devil, baby. New level, new devil. But it's just, there's many ways a course even says that we awaken from the dream. This is not the only way. It doesn't claim to be the only way, but if it's for you, you'll know it. It's definitely for me, and it has been my emotional and spiritual sobriety. Okay. So it says, until we change, nothing will change. We return to the idea of oneness for this lesson 19. Today, we are again emphasizing the fact that minds are joined. This is rarely a wholly welcomed idea at first, since it seems to carry with it an enormous sense of responsibility and may even be regarded as an invasion of privacy. Yet it is a fact that there are no private thoughts. Within the dream, there certainly are private thoughts. We all have the illusion we have them. We think, for example, thank God I didn't say that, so my friend doesn't know what I really think. On a conscious level, that person may not know. But remember, we are all part of one mind. And on another level, and on that level, another's fear and guilt are reinforced by our thoughts, just as we are. And so, in this day and age, we talk a lot about, intuition or energy. It's like, when someone doesn't like you, even if they're putting, slapping a smile on their face and saying nice things, you might not know what they're saying. You might still think they're really nice, but there's just something off. Maybe it's because you don't like them or they don't like you. They can feel that. So there truly are no private thoughts. But as a course would say, there's no private thoughts because there's only one mind. There's only one of us here. So it says on a conscious level, that person may not know that you're talking smack about them. But remember, we are all part of the one mind. And on that level, another's fear and guilt are reinforced by our thoughts, just as we are. Therefore, the effects of our thoughts may not show up right away on the individual level within the dream, but in the larger mind, of which all of us are an effect, thoughts have tremendous power as they reinforce the ego's thought system. They are reminders to everyone that the ego is alive and well, and Jesus does not know what he is talking about. Because what was the message of Jesus? Like, love everyone, forgive everyone, be accepting of everyone, and think of all the, Christian denominations. God bless everybody who's trying to be Christ-like, but how many people truly are? This is not an easy road to walk. Think about it. It's not an easy road to walk. And I don't blame people. Me myself, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. That's why I force myself to, because I'm ready, And it doesn't I understand it more and it helps. I get encouragement, but it doesn't make these new realizations easier. Alrighty. Despite your initial resistance to this idea, you will yet understand that it must be true if salvation is possible at all. And salvation must be possible because it is the will of God. What is important here is that salvation is possible only if there is one problem. The key to salvation within A Course in Miracles is its first principle. There is no order of difficulty among miracles. So in the beginning of the actual text of A Course in Miracles, the first principle states, there is no order of difficulty among miracles. One miracle is not more difficult than another. And a miracle, as a course would say, is in the mind. It's not a miracle out here like I'm going to walk again or I'm going to not have cancer anymore. Like it can show up that way, but that's not what a course in miracles. The miracle is the change in thinking. That's the true miracle. Yeah. You know, when I first started doing this, like it's a miracle. Oh my God. Like there was an example a couple of years ago, and I am so grateful. Again, I think this course is just like it's sobriety for me. I was so hurt. There was a situation and I was so deeply hurt. So hurt. I felt attacked and I was angry and I was justified, but I like in my mind. But I remember lesson number 5. Anger, um, I keep wanting to say anger is never justified. I'm never upset for the reason I think, but I also think about that and on a jury of 12, and if I were to told you the story of what happened, you would be on my side. But that's the ego. It's so easy. But why was I really hurt? What was really going on? Was I able to forgive this person? And oh my God, it was like a good 48 hours straight after the incident. I was in stitches, as they say. My mind was going, it was bothering me. I was sick to my stomach. I was in fetal position. I was crying. I was so upset. And I remember that there was this, and it's from a course, and it says, I will forgive this and it will disappear. I will forgive and this will disappear. I will forgive and this will disappear. I will forgive this and this will disappear. I just kept saying that. I will find a way to forgive this. Did I want to forgive it? No. Did I think that I was right? Yes. Was I justifying my anger? Yes. But I know too much now to know that holding on to unforgiveness and grievances, even if it were right, only hurts me, only robs me of peace and love and joy. And taking it even a step further, the course says, forgiveness is not what we think forgiveness is in this world. We are not forgiving the person because we're better and we're going to forgive them because they were big jerks or they were evil or they robbed me. I forgive them because for what they never did, because this is an illusion. Again, in this world, it's real. The effects seem very, very real. We don't deny that. It's not like, well, I forgive everybody because it's all just a dream and an illusion. No, that's like spiritual bypassing, which some people of A Course in Miracles do that, whatever. But the point is that in the world, be normal, as Ken would say. Press the charges, have the boundaries, go to the courts, put the people in jail, protect yourself, cry. But on the level within, forgive, understand, even say, I'm willing to see this differently. I am willing to be willing to see this differently. Anyways, I think I shared the story last week of that man who his brother I think it was his brother that was murdered. Oh, and he was a student of A Course, and it's what healed him. And he stood up in the courtroom and forgave this person. Mm. That's a miracle, to be at peace, not because you forgave the murderer because that murderer is terrible and you're a better person, but like because this man who forgave understood that the soul of his brother could never die, and that's hard because we are addicted to the bodies. When we are robbed of a life, and A Course says this is not life. This is a poor man's version of life. We are just lifeless. This is a bag of blood and bones that our spirit and soul animates to hide behind. But we have become so addicted to the form and not the one spirit. And it's a slow unraveling of just being willing to see maybe I'm not my body. And we all get to that point as we get older. We know we're going to die. Everyone's going to die. And our family members die. It's when we start to scratch our head and say, is this all there is? What kind of cruel God creates, gives life and takes it away, waves a wand and bestows worthiness on some people? You live a long life, you live a short life. This person lived till 20, this person lived till 80. It's when you start to go to enough funerals and be through enough pain and get suicidal enough to understand what the is really going on here, especially if you're somebody who believes in God. Like, and unfortunately, the religions have taught that we anthropomorphize, we make God in our image and try to understand it from that concept. And a course is shifting our mind from this human perspective and understanding of what life is to 180 degrees to really thinking how God thinks. And it is very uncomfortable and challenging, but healing, because it makes sense. It makes so much sense, not to the logical ego mind, but to your spirit. And it's like, I freaking knew it, man. I didn't know I knew it, but I knew it. And it's a lot. But anyways, back to my uh forgiveness lesson. And there's been many miracles. That's what I was saying. Miracles. There is no difficulty. There is no order of difficulty among miracles. So I was very upset at this person. Didn't really care for this person. Have done a lot of forgiveness work around this person. And I love this person, but like this person has hurt me in my mind. And I kept repeating that phrase. I will forgive this and this will disappear, because I was in hell. What was I going to do? Yell at that person? I wanted to. I wanted to tell them exactly how they hurt me and what a horrible person they were. But that would have been reinforcing the ego. But I said, how can I see this, my brother in Christ, right? Being real, being honest, not being Pollyanna, like, oh, I'm just going to forgive and love. And well, it's like, no, I was really in a lot of pain. But I kept saying that over and over and over. I could cry right now, but like I felt this peace come over me. And I saw that person. That was actually a big shifting point. Nothing but love and mercy, truly. Because I thought of what had happened. I said, why does this person act like that? Why did this person do this? And the answer just came, like, this person's in pain. Hurt people. Does it make it okay? No. Does it mean I'm going to be? No. Boundaries. But that understanding, instead of me having hate, rage, anger, unforgiveness, holding that grievance, yeah, that's what they did, add it to my scroll, put them and lock them in my dungeon, because whoever I put in my dungeon, I'm down there too because I'm watching it. Anybody we hold a grievance or an unforgiveness toward, we are held there too. So forgiveness, again, is not for the other person. It's for us, but it's for all of us. It's for us and them. So that was a miracle. That was a long way of saying A Course in Miracles helps us achieve these miracles of thought. It was a miracle the way I was able to shift my perception of the situation and of this person and what they did to me, what I perceived they did to me. And ever since, I'm not kidding you, that changed my relationship with that person forever and ever. Amen. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. The miracle was within me, but within them too. So the miracle's within. Okay. So there is no order of difficulty among miracles. This tells us that each problem is like every other problem. And so the solution, the miracle, is the same for all. The problem is unreal. Ultimately, the problem is unreal. Here in the dream, it's very real. And I would never say that to somebody, right? It's like Ken always talks about, like, some course students, again, they take this as spiritual bypassing. And when someone's in the hospital dying, they go, it's not real. Don't worry. You're not your body. It's like, you don't say that. Or when someone dies, it's, it's okay. It's not real. This is just a dream. You don't say that to people because we believe very much so that we are here and we are real. So let's not be silly. Ken always says, be normal. This is an inner game. It doesn't matter what we do or say out here. It matters what we do or say in here and think. Because when we change what we think in here, this automatic, and this is another thing. By achieving this inner miracle doesn't mean anything's going to change out here, actually. It doesn't mean anything's going to change. Like that person, they're kind of the same. It doesn't mean that they're going to change, but it means my experience of them will change. Our world will not, maybe the world won't change. The world is still on fire. There's still wars, but I remain at peace. Am I still voting and fighting and donating? Yes. Am I still being in the normal and the dream? Yes. But within, I am no longer ravaged with anger and hate and poison, because ultimately I know that this is just fuckery. It's madness. It's insanity. And there comes a point when we say there must be another way. And this, of course, says is another way of the way we're thinking about it. And that's hard for the ego. We want this world to change. And we say that all the time. We want this world to change. This world will never change because it's not even, it's like rearranging, what do they say? Rearranging furniture on the Titanic. It's going down, baby. It's like, yeah, these are tangents that I don't want to get into right now, but they will go, we'll hear about them later in the lessons, but slowly but surely, one step at a time. Anyways, there's no difficulty in miracles. The miracle is within. It's the way you change your perception about it. It doesn't mean anything out here will change, but something out here might change. Okay. But it's the inner game. It's peace, inner peace. So it says there's one problem and there's one solution. The problem is unreal, but we will not know its unreality until we realize that every problem is the same. The seemingly external form of each problem is but a shadow of the inner problem. The single thought that says, I am separated and I am on my own. If we could be separate and have private thoughts, that would mean the separation is real. Isn't there a great analogy of the wave in the ocean thinking it's frightened when it thinks it's all by itself, that little wave, until it realizes it's like, it's a part of the ocean. Like it's not by itself. How silly would it be for one little wave to think it's all by itself and surrounded by all these big waves and in the ocean? It's like, it is the ocean. It's one. It's just the form that it's taking right now. And there's a great poem. I might have read it before, but it encapsulates, think of your ego separate, and we're all going to, our physical bodies die. And the metaphor is like we're going into the one ocean of life. But we don't want that because we can't even imagine what it's not being us, not being our individual selves, not having our names, our body, our family, our background. But this poem, I think it's by Rumi. And okay, so pick up what I'm putting down here. It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled, from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean. I love that. That's from Rumi, I believe. That's a helpful poem to me. It makes me understand why I'm so afraid to let go of this ego body, to die, or to have my family members die, or anybody I love, right? But what if we could think about this whole thing differently? What if we have it all wrong? And if you're honest with yourself, you've thought of that before. But how do we conceptualize it? So it says the seemingly external form of each problem that we have in our life is but a shadow of the inner problem. The single thought that says, I'm separate and I'm on my own. If we could be separate and have private thoughts, that would mean that the separation is real. Salvation can only occur when we realize the separation is illusory, which means we can have no private thoughts. The concluding 3 paragraphs present the daily exercise to be performed. So it goes on to say the minute or so of mind searching, which is in today's exercise, require it to be undertaken with closed eyes. The idea for today is to be repeated first, then the mind should be carefully searched for the thoughts of it contains at that time. As you consider each one, name it in terms of the central person or theme it contains, and holding it in your mind as you do so, say, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts about blank. Here, Jesus is having us focus solely on our thoughts as reflecting their unity with the sonship. The requirement of as much indiscriminateness as possible in selecting subjects for the practice periods should be quite familiar to you by now and will no longer be repeated each day, although it will occasionally be included as a reminder. Do not forget, however, that random selection of subjects for all practice periods remains essential throughout. Lack of order in this connection will ultimately make the recognition of lack of order in miracles meaningful to you. Apart from the as-needed application of today's idea, at least 3 practice periods are required, shortening the length of them involved if necessary. Do not attempt more than 4. So if you're on lesson 19 today, those are the instructions. So just take a couple moments, read the lesson for today. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. And then close your eyes. And what are you thinking about? I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts about the war, about the school shooting that just happened. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts about that school shooting. About anything. In a sense, Jesus is revealing his process to us, explaining the purpose of the first 19 lessons. Over and over, he insists that we do not discriminate in the choice of objects we perceive outside or in our choice of thoughts as we search our minds. Jesus wants us to realize that everything we perceive and think is the same. Oh, you know what? I think the lesson, let me just read that again. So, the minute or so. Okay. Never mind. I thought I missed something. Okay. So he's saying, is reminding us, Jesus wants us to realize that everything we perceive out here and everything we think in here is the same. By learning to practice this idea of specific objects in the room and specific thoughts in our minds, we will come to realize that everything is the same and therefore our problems have one solution: the miracle, the change in perception, the meaning we give it. Of course, in the earlier lessons, I've given this microphone all the meaning that it has for me. I've given this feather pen all the meaning it has for me. We ascribe meaning to everything in our lives, you know? Um, and like when we think about this lesson, I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts about this computer, the physical thing, or I'm not, alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts about the stuff that's going on in this country, right? By learning to practice this idea, the specific objects in the room and specific thoughts within the mind, we will come to realize that everything is the same and therefore our problems have one solution: the miracle, the shift in perception from that of fear to love. Thus, we find a clear statement of Jesus's underlying method and why the workbook lessons appear to be as simple as they are. He wants us to practice on a level that is comfortable: coat hanger, wastebasket, lamp, telephone cup, as we've learned in the previous lessons. until we get the idea that they are all the same, serving the purpose of proving the reality of the separation and the absence of our responsibility for it. This helps us ultimately to realize there is no hierarchy of illusions. The correction for the first law of chaos, which seeks to establish this hierarchy. That was it, y'all. That was lesson 19 from A Course in Miracles workbook. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. Kudos to you, y'all. If you are on this spiritual journey, particularly if you resonate with a course, if you don't, again, don't feel bad. You don't ever have to watch this again. It was fantastic seeing you. And I don't blame you because this is not easy stuff. This is mind-bending stuff. But when you're ready for it, you know it. And you know, if there's another path that calls to you, just be vigilant and practice it until you feel at peace. Lean on it, use it. Again, this is like sobriety to me. When I feel crazy, when I feel nuts, I mean, I'm trying to be more, but you know, just like anything, I do it and then I fall off the wagon and then I get all out of sorts and I'm like, girl, when was the last time you really sat down and you're practicing your lessons every day, or you're reading every day, or you're spending time with God every day, connecting every day, whatever it is to you. Any words that I use might be different for you. Remember, you know what's right for you. Don't let anybody else tell you, because you only know from your own perspective and your own perception. Whatever resonates with you, meet yourself where you're at. Don't try to be, you know, and that's a thing. It's like, you know, when you see these people who are seemingly so at peace, like Eckhart Tolle, it's like we want to get there. And it's like, don't compare yourself to anyone, you know, be gentle with yourself. Be gentle, meet yourself where you're at. You're right. You are right. And nobody else has to be wrong for you to be right, by the way. We don't have to make other people wrong so we can be right. Sometimes we'll resonate with certain lessons of other people. Sometimes we won't, but it doesn't mean they're wrong. Or it doesn't mean we're wrong. Anywho, all right. I hope you enjoy that. Until the next lesson, my friends, we will pick up on lesson 20 of the workbook. I am determined to see. That is lesson 20. I'm proud of myself. There's 365. We're 20 in. It only took me, what is it going to be, going on? When did I start this? I'm embarrassed. It might be, I'm not embarrassed. I lied. I'm not embarrassed. I actually don't give a crap. Has it been almost 2 years? No, maybe a year. I don't remember. Anyways, I'll get through them on my time. I ain't in no rush. Okay. But if you have any questions, let me know. I appreciate all of your love and support. I'm here. I'm right here with you. Yeah. And just continue on the journey. And yeah. Best of luck to you. Let me know if you have any questions or any thoughts that came up for you. Until next time, my friends, have a beautiful day.